On today's Locked On Texan podcast, the Houston Texans sure up their offensive line, and ESPN's DJ Bieniemy joins the show.
You are Locked On Texans, your daily Houston Texans podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in, everybody, to a Friday episode of the Locked On Texan podcast, a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Visit UnderdogFantasy.com or find them in the App Store and sign up with promo code Locked On to get your first deposit doubled up to $100. If you are new to the Locked On Texan podcast, do us a favor. Be sure to subscribe, like, and comment to the Locked On Texas podcast wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube. And if you are one of our returning family members, thank you for coming back for another episode as we talk Texans. I am your Texan football analyst, John Some Sports Guy Hickman, and the man with the plan, Cody Davis, your Texan Credential Media member and Sports Illustrated's own. We're going to look at some YouTube comments. It's been a while. ESPN's DJ Bieniemy is joining the Locked On Texans podcast. That's going to be fun. But first, we open up with the Houston Texans adding tackle Joshua Jones. The Texans send the 2024 fifth rounder to Arizona for Joshua Jones. Jones did go to Bush High School, so a hometown kid is coming home. 26 years old, started 21 of 47 games for the Cardinals since joining the team in 2020, third rounder from U of H. Houston is getting Jones still on his rookie deal. He is a player that has some versatility. He kind of reminds me a little bit of Titus Howard. Finally found a home at left tackle in 2022 after being bounced around the season prior between positions. And when he found a home, the improvement was there. Still gave up 4 sacks, but much better in the run, much better pass protection in his career. Jones has 611 snaps at left tackle, 612 snaps at right guard, and 442 snaps at right tackle. With the news of Titus Howard hand injury, now we know that hand was back in the cast. Cody, you're going to have some more information on that to see what's going on with Titus Howard hand situation. Not having him out there on the field, don't know when he actually will return back to full game health. And Charlie Heck still on the physical, unable to perform list. Caserio made the right decision in looking to boost this offensive line until Titus Howard gets back, while also having some insurance for themselves if Kenyon Green doesn't pan out as well. I do think this wasn't overpay, though, guys. Looking at giving up a fifth rounder for a player that is potentially just a backup. And remember, Shaq Mason, this team's starting right guard, he's a starter, was traded for a fifth rounder too. So I think the fifth round was too much. Getting a 7th rounder back along with the player, that's okay, but I'm not giving up a fifth rounder. I also think this is an overpayment considering cut down day is in a few days. Could have gotten a player with the same value, maybe the same player, or a player just like him with the same value without giving up a fifth rounder. However, in the end, this was Nick Caserio's way of making sure that they stick to their plan, which is effectively running the ball and being able to protect their quarterback, which Houston has had some difficulty doing. And also believe this is an indication that Austin Deculus, George Fant, they are on the outside looking in. The rookie, Colleen, I may not be saying his name correctly, so forgive me. He is also on injury reserve with an ankle injury, I believe. And so that offensive line for Houston is really banged up. They do not want to go into the starting of the season without their protection for their rookie quarterback and being able to really get a push off the line for their running back group. So I understand it, right? Definitely understand it, Cody. I still think it was an overpayment. A fifth round is too much in my eyes.
I'm going to start off with the news regarding Titus Howard. listeners and viewers, at the time of this recording, before we hit record, I tried my hardest to make some calls to see whether or not this meant that Titus Howard had a setback or anything with his recovery. Wasn't able to get any type of information about that, so it seems like everything is on track. However, I have had the opportunity to see Titus Howard inside the Texans locker room over the last 2 days. Wednesday, that left hand was in a cast. However, Thursday, that hand wasn't in the cast, which means, that can be good news. I do believe, John, listeners and viewers, that this move to go out and get Josh was more so, of course, an insurance policy, but I go back to ever since Nick Caserio took over the last 2 years. Every time you had a player who missed a significant amount of time, no matter the injury, they kind of slowly worked their way back. It was always okay. This is the projected return date that we're looking at. However, it always seemed to last, let's say, somewhere in the ballpark between 1 to 3 weeks before they actually return on the field. And that's very important because I kind of believe that same criteria is still going to be in place for the Houston Texans in 2023, because you got to keep in mind that Titus Howard sustained this injury, I believe, week 2 of training camp. And that means he's basically been out of football. And like something that I keep repeating over and over every time we talk about Titus Howard is, even when he comes back, he's not going to be 100%. And it's going to take him time to get back to the Titus Howard that is one of the most underrated right tackles in the game today. So I think this acquisition of Josh gives the Houston Texans and Titus Howard enough time to boost up that offensive line just a little bit, because no disrespect to George Fant and Austin Deculus and the rest of those guys, but that right side of that offensive line, even though it did look a little bit better against the Miami Dolphins Saturday, neither one of those guys look good. John, I don't really consider this an overpay. Because I think at the end of the day, the Houston Texans probably got the best offensive lineman for this situation. However, the one thing that concerns me, and this goes back to what you just finished talking about, when you look at Josh's numbers, when you take a look at the film, his first 2 years when he was on the right side of the offensive line, he was terrible. As a matter of fact, in 2021, Pro Football Focus had his overall rating at 46.7, and that's when he was playing right tackle for majority of his snaps. However, last year, as you alluded to, he switched over to left tackle, and we saw major improvements. And without a shadow of a doubt, he's definitely not going to take the helm as this team left tackle. So that's the one thing that has concerned me. However, it all goes back to what is the most important thing for the Houston Texans as of right now, and that's keeping the pocket clean for your rookie quarterback. It doesn't matter what Coach D'Amico Ryan says or the coordinator says. Every time we ask them about a quote-unquote starter, we know Baltimore, Indy, and I can't remember who the third team is, and I'm naming the first 3 games of the season because it's looking like those are going to be the 3 games that they're going to go on the field without Titus Howard. It doesn't matter who they put out there as they starting 5. You need to make sure that you put the best offensive lineman out there to make sure you keep that pocket clean for CJ Stroud.
Yeah, but okay, when I say overpayment, I'm looking at Nick Caserio's history, right? Because I think he overpaid for Robert Woods. And
so you're just talking about in general?
In general, but I'm also looking, okay, Robert Woods is a situation that I'm going to point to. Gave Robert Woods a lot of money, but then we still have, I think, receivers that are on the market right now that's better than Robert Woods. And so I'm thinking to myself, Robert Woods got that money. And then you were able to see the influx of receivers that were not necessarily getting big money. So you could have signed some of those guys for cheaper that had better talent, understand the scheme fit, but maybe the better talent. And so now I'm thinking to myself, gave up a 5th rounder for a player that's probably going to be on the bench, a backup player for majority of the season, more than the majority of the season. What could you have gotten when cut down day came around? So that's what I mean. Like, I'm looking at the value of what possibly is going to be out there next week. I'm also looking at if you could have got this same player next week as well. Now, to be fair, I think a conversation that is, we need to have is, was this Houston's way of beating the curve? Because we got a game this Sunday, right? Sunday against the Saints, right?
Mm-hmm.
We need more. We want to make sure we get enough time to get you in here to make sure that you're ready for week one if Titus Howard isn't ready. If who we have that's been in this in our locker room already, if they're not ready, or we've had to move on from them, i.e., maybe Fant. So maybe they're looking at beating the curve and bringing him in so he can get acclimated to what this team wants to do. Played under what's your boy that they fired, Cliff Kingsbury. So their pass protection is big, and I know this is something that Houston wants to make sure that they're better at across that offensive line. I still think that fifth rounder was too much. I can understand why they did it, but I can't wait to see who's going to be available after the cut down day.
I do want to mention this because I couldn't remember the third game of the season for the Texans, but that third game against Jacksonville. So if Titus Howard, and it's looking more and more likely that he might miss the first three, Ravens, Colts, Jacksonville, all three of those teams has pretty solid defensive lines where it's like, okay, you got to make sure you put some talent on that offensive line for your rookie quarterback.
No matter why you shave, Harry has you covered for the best shave of your life at a price you'll love. From their legendary high-quality razors to skin products like exfoliating face wash and hydrating lotion, Harry gives you a premium shave without the premium price tag. Get better quality and a better price than other razors when you get Harry's delivered right to your door. The starter set is a $13 value just for $3 at harrys.com/NFL. It includes a 5-blade German-engineered razor, weighted handle, foaming shaving gel, and a travel cover. Scheduled delivery for refills as low as $2, half of what you pay for other blades. This is something that you guys definitely want to hop on if you are a shaver. Get your best shave ever this summer with Harry's razors and skincare products. Again, get a $13 starter set for the value of $3. For the cost of $3. That's harrys.com/NFL for a $3 starter kit.
Welcome back in, ladies and gentlemen, to this Friday installment of Locked On Texans. And I have with me one of the best football minds that you could run across, DJ Bieniemy from ESPN. DJ, what's up, man? How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good, man. I'm tired, man. I'm tired. Brave training camp to be over, just like how you were.
Yeah, man. We normally spend at least almost every single day we spending at least 3 to 4 hours inside NRG Stadium together. So you already know I've been telling my listeners and viewers about CJ, but DJ, what have you been seeing from CJ throughout these first 2 games and going into the final preseason game? What are some of the things that you would like to see him improve on?
So I would say from game 1 to game 2, he played a lot faster according to Next Gen Stats. His time to throw rate was week 1, 2.9. Then week 2 was 2.3. The average in the NFL is about 2.7. Really bad is close to 3. Really good is under 2.6. Obviously, there's some guys that can get away with it and hold it a while, like Josh Allen's of the world, Lamar's. Mahomes can, but his is still closer to 2.7.
Mm-hmm.
So that just lets you know, when he's not, doing all the off-script creative playmaking things, when he's on script, he's deadly. So to see that improvement from CJ was phenomenal. That lets me know that he's starting to understand the offense better, understanding NFL speeds better, and understanding NFL defenses better. So those were things that were really impressive. That was 1. 2, week 1, week 2, the ball placement. Obviously, week 1, he had the interception. Week 2, he had about 3 throws through 2 to Noah Brown, 1 to Robert Woods that were not next level, but that showcase the fact that CJ Stroud is a ball placement purist. That's what he thrives at. That's his superpower. That's his trait, the ability to put the ball where he needs it to go. As obviously you were there today, Bobby Slowick said that when it comes to CJ, he can put the ball wherever he wants to really put the ball for the majority of the time. And then obviously Matt Burt, the DC, mentioned how there have been times at practice where he throws his hands up like there's not much better defense you can play than that. So fast forward, those two things were on display: playing within rhythm, and then playing. Being able to showcase the ball placement. Now, 3, what I want to see going into New Orleans Saints, pretty simple: get the ball in the end zone now, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's been progressions, right? Week 1, you struggle, that's over with. Week 2, you finally show some promise, you didn't throw a field goal. Now, let's get the ball in the end zone. Let's throw your first NFL touchdown pass, even though it won't count, but at least let's get that taste in your mouth that you've been able to finally put the ball, lead the offense into the end zone. Because technically, that's the only thing he's done that he hasn't done that Davis Mills has done. Because Davis
Mm-hmm.
Mills has led them to a touchdown. CJ only got 3 points. So that's basically it. That's the only thing you got to do left is like get the ball in the end zone.
Anytime somebody talking about the Houston Texans in 2023, of course, CJ is the main headliner. And it seems like Will Anderson has been falling under the radar a little bit. So same question. What are some of the things that you have liked from Will Anderson from these first 2 preseason games? And what is something that you want to see from him as we enter this last game?
Yeah, week 1, he didn't have any stats, but he had a pressure that forced Bailey Zappi to step up into the pocket. And then obviously you had Denzel Perryman coming on a delayed blitz. So that pressure that forced Bailey Zappi to stepped up right to Denzel Perryman's vicinity, which led to that sack. So that sack for Denzel probably doesn't happen without Will Anderson doing his part. And then he also had a TFL week 1 on a run play. Then week 2, he had a sack. Granted, he's not going to that many times when he gets matched up on a running back during the season, but you like when he still executes in those situations to get the sack. He obviously had a TFL that put Miami in 2nd and 15 on the 2-yard line. Obviously, Miami was still able to turn that into a touchdown drive, but the fact that he had a 2nd and 15, which at least let you had the opportunity and the potential to have another productive drive for the Texans defense, and that was for that second drive was created to be put in that situation because of Will. And then obviously he had the sack. So I guess for next week, you just want to see him continue to build on those things, right? Because he's shown the ability to bend around the corner against tackles, the ability to execute stunts. Because he had one stunt against the Patriots where he was able to where he looped around. The DT was able to cause some pressure on Bailey Zappi. So you just want to continue to see him execute the defense, continue to get upfield, be a force against the run game. And I guess now the only left is to get a sack while beating an offensive tackle this time. So I guess that's the only thing left that I would want to see from Will in preseason.
Yeah. Of course, last preseason game. Next Tuesday is cut down day. Off the top of your head, who are some of the guys that you consider being on the bubble where it's like, okay, they have to go out there and put together a really good game in order to make this Houston Texans 53-man roster?
So that's a tricky question. On the bubble, I would say it starts the people that are truly on the bubble. There's some guys on the offensive line in the offensive line room. Obviously, with the addition of the guy to trade for was Josh Jones, I believe, from Arizona Cardinals. That put some guys in the old tackle room on the bubble. I would say Kobe Francis at nickelback. Obviously, he has some talent, undrafted free agent out of Memphis from last year in 2022. So he has some talent. He's at the nickel spot. So he's behind TT and Desmond. But he has the ability to play on the outside also. He has the ability to play outside. So he has some versatility and he's on special teams. So I think if he has a good outing, he can solidify his spot on the roster. I would say I don't think there's anybody at the receiver spot. I think the receiver room is what it is, right? It's going to be Noah Brown, Robert, Nico, Tank, Mechie, Xavier. Then at tight end, so I would say Brevin Jordan, but he's not going to play this week. Yeah. So he's a guy that's kind of on the bubble, and it's kind of like is somebody else going to take the spot from him because he's been hurt the whole training camp. We haven't seen him practice in a month.
Yeah.
Um, I would say Chase is on the bubble. Chase Winovich, he's on the bubble because he's missing time with some injuries, and Jacob Martin looks like he's gonna make the team. Remember, he started last week, so he looks like he has an
Yeah.
upper hand in that. So I can
Mm-hmm.
see a scenario where Chase gets cut. Even though he was signed and was expected to be a contributor to this defensive line from a different depth perspective. So I think, yeah, he has to one play and have a good game to make this 53-man roster. Um, but I think the majority of the roster is set. It just really comes down to because it's tricky because there's guys that are hurt that could get cut, but like a Christian Kirksey, he hasn't practiced in a while, but
Yeah.
they they can save money if they cut him, but if they can't get him back on waivers, that's gonna hurt the linebacker room because they don't have depth there, right? Like the main guys are right now. Obviously Kirk will be in there, but Blake, Cashman, Denzel, and Christian Harris. After that is a drop off.
Mm-hmm.
There's a legitimate drop off. So cutting Kirkle when injuries happen, and injuries always happen because again, not Christian. Denzel Perriman's been hurt. He hasn't played a full season career. Blake Cashman hasn't played a full season in his career. So injuries are inevitable, especially at the linebacker spot, because those guys have to
Yeah.
cover, take on tackles, try to cover slot and tight ends. So they're soft tissue injuries are almost a guarantee for the linebacker spot.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say I don't I don't know if a guy like Kirkle is gonna get cut because it just doesn't make sense from their end because they need that there. Because we saw last year what happened when the linebacker room fell apart. Because I was talking to a player today and they were saying the difference between this scheme and last year's scheme is the fact that like last year it was on linebackers to make plays, and then this year it's on us to make plays. It's all the guys up front got to make plays.
Mm-hmm.
So if we saw last year when injuries happened, how quickly the linebacker room like fell off a cliff. So I just don't think you can get rid of a guy like Kirksey. So yeah. So that's kind of the guys on top of my head that are all right. Could be cut candidates, but if they have a good game, they could save themselves.
DJ, last question before getting out of here. What has been your take being around Coach D'Amico Ryans for these first couple of months? And not only that, how different does this year feel versus last year, which was also your first year on the beat as well?
So I would say what the difference between D'Amico and I guess Lovey is I feel like he just brought a newer energy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, a newer energy. Lovey was older, so it's not like he can't bring energy, but he kind of young coaches tend to bring more energy week in and week out. Where
Yeah.
Lovey's more diplomatic and is more methodical with his approach. Um, but I would say that D'Amico he appears to be a leader of men that has buy-in from players because he's younger, he can relate to them. So I would
Mm-hmm.
say those two things are probably the biggest difference is there's a new energy here, and it feels like they have a plan that they're trying to execute now. And they got the quarterback in place. They got the head coach. They have their quarterback and head coach of their future hypothetically in place, right? Now, obviously, they have to go and execute, but right now it
Mm-hmm.
seems like from outside looking in, all right, they got the quarterback, they got the head coach. Now their rebuild has legitimate legs versus compared before where they didn't have the quarterback of the future, they didn't have the head coaches of the future, so you couldn't really wrap your arms around them as a fan.
Yeah. Sounds good. DJ Bienemy from ESPN. DJ, really quick, where can our listeners follow you at on all your social media platforms?
Just DJ Bianime on Twitter. I think DJ underscore Bianime on IG, and then you can probably find me on ESPN Radio for ESPN Houston at 97.5 or something like that. On a few radio shows and my podcast was talking Texans, but on YouTube. So that's about it.
August is here, and you know what that means, the official start of fantasy football drafting month. Get championship ready for your home league by trying out Best Ball on Underdog Fantasy. All you do is one live snake draft, no waivers, no trades. Underdog sets your best lineup every week. Try it out with Underdog's Best Ball Mania Tournament. The largest fantasy football contest of all time is back and better than ever with $15 million of total prizes up for grabs, including an absurd $3 million going to the winner. Last year, the winner drafted their team in July, so don't wait around. Visit UnderdogFantasy.com and find them in the App Store and sign up with promo code Locked On to get your first deposit doubled up to $100. That's promo code Locked On at Underdog Fantasy Sports. Welcome back in, Locked On Texans listeners and viewers. Before we close out today's show, we're going right back to the place that we love, the comment section on YouTube, and make sure that you subscribe, like, and comment to the Locked On Texans podcast on YouTube. My man, Jalen Johnson 0339. You know what he said, Cody?
What's up?
This was on the which defensive player stock has gone up and down en route to the Texans 53-man roster episode. He said, yeah, I haven't been too impressed with Shaq. If they do cut him, I wouldn't be shocked at all. Honestly, I would be okay if they cut Jerry Hughes due to how Jacob Martin has been playing. He's having a great camp in preseason, but I think the Texans will keep him around just as a veteran presence. Also, yeah, that Davis dude from the USFL, he's having a nice preseason too. He's one of ones. He's also one of ones who's having a good camp. But, man, Nick Caserio is going to have to make some tough cuts on that defensive line.
I 100% agree. You know, I don't see Jerry Hughes getting cut. I mean, but I do agree. If anything, they definitely going to keep him around just for a veteran presence. As a matter of fact, Wednesday and Thursday was the first 2 days that we had an opportunity to go inside the Texans locker room, and it's completely different. Like last year, they had everybody in their locker rooms, like it was position by position. You know, you had your quarterbacks here, running backs here, wide receivers here. You know, everybody was all together. However, when we walked in, we noticed that everybody was just all over the place. I think the best lineup in the locker room they got is like middle of the locker room is CJ. Right next to CJ is Laramie Tunsil. Right next to Laramie Tunsil is Jalen Petrie. It's ironic because you're looking at three cornerstones for this organization. But the only reason why I'm bringing up the locker room is because at the very far back, Jerry Hughes, and right next to him is Will Anderson Jr. And I'm only bringing that up because if anything, look, I understand Jerry Hughes is getting up there in age. I don't want to see him lead this team in sacks for another consecutive season. However, for someone like Will Anderson Jr., who is already starting to show that he was worth the hefty draft package that they sent to Arizona, to have his locker right next to Jerry Hughes is going to do wonders for his development.
Yeah. Talking about Will Anderson, this is from my man Turo McJohnson 4069. Okay. Maybe my favorite comment of the offseason so far. Do you think Will Anderson will make the team? No, but on a serious note, my man Jason Hudson Shield 5220. Kirksey, I doubt get released. Toto is not ready. Perriman has missed a lot of games, all to injuries. Is there a chance Christian Kirksey does not get cut? He is a Texan, or does Houston look to cut him to save money in order to address their linebacker position? There's going to be a lot of players available that cut down day, man.
It is, but what you just heard from DJ Bieniemy, the linebacking core is good, but it's only a certain number of players that you can trust. And Christian Kirksey is one of those guys to where if you look at it, it's like, okay, I understand he missed, basically the entire training camp. However, I just think his value to that position group and to the defense and to the team in general, I can definitely see the Houston Texans keeping him around.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't even consider him a bubble guy. And it's ironic that we're talking about this because Wednesday, I asked Coach D'Amico Ryans about, how do you go about evaluating guys that's been injured for majority, if not all, of training camp? And he said, you just got to rely on the film that they already had, and just about the knowledge and the background that you already knew about them. And when he said that lets me know that, okay, Christian Kersey is definitely a pretty a guy that's going to be pretty much a part of this 53-man roster come Tuesday.
Last one, Dylan Terrell, 5190. If Stroud is playing the third preseason game, we need the starting out offensive line to be out there. I don't want another week of a one O-line game. I'm not sure what he meant by that last part, but honestly, I want to see the starters out there. So this was a few days ago, and D'Amico Ryans announced that everyone will be playing this weekend. So that's good, Cody. I want to see what this team can do. I want to see CJ in at least a half, man. I mean, a quarter. At least a quarter.
I agree.
Then you go out there and you give Davis Mills, Case Keenum, and whoever else at their quarterback position, EJ Perry, an opportunity to show what they can do. But that's how I feel about it. That's how I feel about it right now. Make sure you guys continue to listen to the Locked On Texans podcast Monday through Friday, sometimes on Saturday. Subscribe, like, and comment on YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts as well. Give me a follow at John_Hickman12. It's hot in Houston, so make sure you stay hydrated. It felt like 120 today. Make sure you stay hydrated. And this episode is dedicated to Brandon K. Scott's wife. May you rest in peace forever.
And as always, I'm your host, Cody M. Davis. Please remember to follow me on Twitter at Cody Davis _24. Once again, that's Cody COTYDAVIS _24. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, peace.